Um, Hi, Kristen.
Hi.
I'm really excited to talk with you. I've followed you since Top Chef, so I was super excited when I saw restaurants at the end of the world come across my emails, and I wanted to ask what inspired you to be a part of this project.
I mean, there are a lot of things that came together in order for me to be able to be the version of myself that could do this. I think it all kind of started way back when, and the curiosity is driven of, you know, being adopted and the idea of being chosen and
Hmm.
the fact that I could have been chosen to be anywhere, theoretically speaking. And so that idea of wanting to be curious and hear how other people live and like live the way people live was always driven by that idea.
Yeah.
Um, Obviously my career has brought me into food and travel and adventure and all the different things. And, I think that there's a layer of education that I can only learn when I'm out there or that I feel like I want. I do have this little tick inside of me that just craves adrenaline and a little bit of like uncertainty and like, oh my God, kind of feeling sometimes.
Yeah.
And then, the idea of being a person that can feel confident in of being myself with these people on camera. Um, that didn't come until much later on in my life, but it eventually came to me. And now I get to bring all these things together:
Yeah.
food, people, my personal life, my personal upbringing, and take it out on the road with National Geographic. I mean, it's kind of it's a dream that I never would have thought would happen for me.
Yeah. I think for me, one of the most beautiful things about the series and the compelling thing about you as a host is you're so curious and you want to learn about everything. And I think that sometimes hosts don't know how to be receptive in that way. And I wanted
Mhm.
to know what was a lesson you learned from your experience filming, and not just filming, but experiencing the places that the food came from, and learning the respect between bringing creating the dishes and
Mhm.
beyond that. Sorry, I know that was a little hard of a question, but
I think that this idea of curiosity has always stayed with me, and it's just this thing that kind of is a driving force. And in kitchens, the curiosity leads to experimentation a little bit and encourages kind of play. Um, what this show and what these people have taught me is that I can do more of that, and that I want to do more of that.
yeah,
And also, this idea that I don't have to know everything, right? And I think that there's a transition in life that happens where, my insecurity was led by ego, and it felt like I needed to know everything and I needed to know more and I needed to be the person asserting my knowledge. And then what this has given me is, and why I love doing this, is because it completely takes me out of my comfort zone. And I have no choice but to concede in a lot of ways and be like,
yeah,
teach me everything that you know, because I know nothing about this. And, some of these things are relatively, I don't know, for some people, probably really familiar, right?
yeah,
The things we're talking about, the things I'm learning or doing for the first time. But I think the thing is that regardless if you know these things, the idea of being curious about someone else's life is really what it really is about for me. And I get to spend a week at a time with these people, and off camera, on camera, like conversations keep rolling, right? Like my job doesn't end when a camera shuts off. Like
yeah,
I'm still there on this personal journey. And I think all the stuff that happened off camera allowed me to learn more and kind of go into the on camera things with more curiosity,
yeah.
empathy, and this willingness to want to learn as much as I can.
And I think that really showed through, and the connection that people can have by sharing a meal with others, to their surroundings and with other people, and what you can convey with that. And I wanted to ask, there's a couple of moments in the show, I think the Norway episode specifically, where there's the special drink. I won't
Mm-hmm.
I won't spoil it for anyone. But there's a little bit of hesitation because it's like, oh, this is way outside of that comfort zone that you mentioned. And I wanted to know if you had any advice or what you would suggest to people who may see any sort of experience or any sort of dish or drink or anything, um that they may be hesitant about kind of taking that first step, what would you recommend to them?
You don't have to like it. You don't. You don't have to like it. You don't have to be able to have to look at someone in the face and be like, oh my God, this was the best thing ever. And I think a lot of times it's, for me, like trying new things. I don't want to hurt anyone's feelings, right? I know what it feels like when someone doesn't like my food. Like it kind of sucks, but then it's also kind of like, that's okay too. It's so subjective.
Yeah.
And the thing is like, there is a reason why he was doing that. It wasn't just to be like, showboaty or whatever. There was a legitimate reason. And he is out there with very limited resources, and he is using every single part. When we talk about using all the different parts of the animal, that's definitely true and something we all need to do.
Yeah.
But like he took it to like this other level where like that would normally be a thing that you just discard, and that would be okay discarding and putting back into the earth. But you don't have to like it, and it's going to be okay, but just try it. Like just try it. So then you can say, I don't want to have that again. And that's for me. I don't need to ever have a feeding bag cocktail ever again, but I'm glad I tried it.
And on that note, do you think that there are certain food experiences that people should try at least once, if you had to pick one?
Oh my God. Anytime you are presented with something new, what a great privilege and luxury that is to be exposed to something new to you. And don't we all want that, whether that's food or not food related, like just a different perspective, a different experience that you can then take on your own and use it however you want to use it. I think that's what better way to learn than through that way. So seek out those experiences.
And one of the really cool things about the show is that it is a food show, but it's also an adventure show too.
Mm-hmm.
Like you get to do so many cool physical activities in it all. Was there anything that was your favorite, or anything that was, maybe took a little bit more out of you than you thought it would?
I think they're all my favorite. And as we, just coming off that last question of doing something new or experiencing a new experience, like those were all new to me. And it just makes me want to do it again. I would happily rappel down another waterfall. I would happily go swimming in the Arctic. I would do it in a way that had less fear, because doing it for the first time does carry a little bit of fear and uncertainty. And I'd like to do it again so I can do it better, because it's exciting. There's nothing there that I've done on this show that I wouldn't do again willingly. I actually want to do more, and it's like, what else can I do? If I can rappel down a waterfall, maybe I can, I don't know, whatever an adventure thing is next. I don't know. All these things that can be dreamt up that I can't even think of. That's what I want to do.
And I think to kind of tie it all together, when folks watch the series, what do you want them to take away from it, as, whether it's from individual episodes or once they finish that very last episode? What do you want them to walk away feeling or thinking?
I think the beauty of this show, obviously it is called Restaurants at the End of the World, and I am a chef. But outside of that, I'm a person who's had life experiences that make me curious and, want to do certain things. And then on the other side of that, we're meeting with chefs and restaurant people. But again, they are also just humans. And there was something that drove them to wanting to do this. And I think regardless of if you love food or don't love food or know restaurants or not, there's something in this show for everybody, because it's a very human show. And you can find relatability or curiosity in all these people and why they chose to do what they're doing.
So what's next? Has this inspired you to do more and travel to more places?
What's next is I hope that we get to do more of these.
Yes. That's what I thought personally. I was like, why is it so short?
I know, new series are always an interesting thing. It's, you got to get it out there and see what sticks, what doesn't stick, what works, what doesn't work. And everyone's kind of just trying to figure this out. So, my greatest hope is that people watch it and enjoy it. So then we're able to do more in all the different ways and explore, more people and more places.
And had you known about these chefs and restaurants like before you started the series, or was
No,
this something you researched? Oh, okay, cool.
I knew none of them. And going into each show, obviously, there's pre-production and things,
Yeah.
planning involved. It's a television show after all. However, the only things that I was privy that I wanted to know going into it was what is the like, what's the adventure part? Like, I need to know mentally if
Yeah.
I'm going to rappel down this waterfall. I just have to know this. And we need to like feel good with it. But outside of that, who they are, I was meeting these people, like production went as far as keeping me separate because obviously I get there a couple days before, get settled. And they made sure like the day of filming of the day I first meet these people that we don't meet until the
Oh,
camera is right
wow.
there to catch that meeting. And so it is incredibly organic in that way. So it was done in a way that I had to discover things in real time with a camera.
And I will say something that I think sets the show apart from some. I love travel shows and I love food shows, but I think sometimes there is a little bit of othering that happens when we
Mm,
explore new places. And that doesn't happen here. There
mm.
is a love and a care done into representing what's being shown. And I wanted to know if that was really kind of top of mind as the show was being built out. Because I don't want to say it's unique, but it is something that made me, I mean, coming from someone with an ethnic cuisine that
Sure.
sometimes is viewed differently, there was something really warm and welcoming seeing it handled in this way.
I think I've always looked at food of obviously being um me.
Yeah.
um there's a lot of things that I think about, right? Of what it means to show someone else's story. And I think what the show did really well first, especially for these first 4 episodes, was not just sending me in to like take over and spill all my chef knowledge and tell them what to do. It was, all right, let's go in as kind of the sous chef. And I
Yeah.
am happily doing that because I'm like, this is giving also me the chance to sit back and learn and take it all in just like everybody else is. And so without that pressure of having to assert myself or to
Yeah.
have to know everything, and also just see what it's like, the dynamic, right? Some people wanted more of my advice and some people said, that's enough and that's okay, or some people didn't even take my advice at all. And I'm fine with it. But at least it creates conversation. And I think being someone that oftentimes is and was underrepresented myself,
Mhm.
I think being able to go in there, I came with a different perspective. And I think if there's any great reason to continue doing this is not quite frankly for me and my adventure and, my experience, it's, we're not even scratching, we haven't even explored the world yet. We haven't even like even begun to think about and dream of the places. We had to pick 4 places
Yeah.
to do, right? That needed to work with schedule for them, that they wanted to do it, that quite frankly, they spoke English because we need to have some form of communication, especially for these first, as we're
Yeah.
getting our feet wet for this series. But there are so many places, like the places that are being talked about potentially, and hopefully we get to do,
Yeah.
are just outstanding. And that completely busts the doors open
Yeah.
into what else is out in the world and who else is out there to tell a story.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much. That's all I have. It was phenomenal getting to talk with you. And again, the series is amazing.
Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah. So